Welcome to the lecture on Introduction to Cost of Credit and Amortization. So, in this lecture we are going to discuss about the cost of credit, the concept which is used by the credit card companies. Then we are also going to discuss about the credit limit and debit limit, which is important. You must know that what is the credit limit and debit limit, how they are important, what are the factors which govern these debit limits. Then we will also have the introduction to the amortization concept, and finally, in the coming lectures we will also discuss about the amortization schedule, that is something related to the loans which we take for longer period of time. So, in those cases these amortization, so there this amortization concept or amortization schedule is important, and we need to know what is this schedule, how you have to pay, how much interest you are paying, how much principal is getting subtracted in course of time. All that is coming under this category of study, that is amortization. So, coming to the introduction to the cost of credit. What is cost of credit basically? So, what we do nowadays, these consumers and businesses, they have to pay large sum of money every year for loans and for the charges they run on credit cards and other charge accounts. So, you have we must be very much conversant with the concept of credit cards and charge accounts, and we basically take large amount of loan, we are basically using them for so on that credit basically, we are having that credit so that we can purchase something on loan, and then later on we have to repay that. So, that is a usual practice by consumers and businesses nowadays, and in that basically there are two major factors which are determining the power to increase the cost of credit. So, when you are using these credit cards or the charge accounts, then in that case there are two things which are important, that is interest rate and the time to keep an outstanding balance. So, at what interest rate, what is the interest rate charged by them, and how much time you are keeping that outstanding balance. So, when you are paying the amount or partial payment, when you are making, so what is the outstanding balances in between. So, average daily balance is there, that is also coming into picture in those cases, and then that basically determines the the power to increase the cost of credit. So, basically the cost of credit goes on increasing by these factors. So, these factors have a positive relationship to the amount of interest charged on the balance. So, the thing is that if the interest rate is higher, if the interest rate charged by that credit card company or the charged account is higher, in that case certainly you are paying the larger quantity of interest. At the same time, if you have the longer time, like if you are keeping the outstanding balance for large time, in that case also the interest paid by the borrower is larger. So, the industry standard for credit card and charge accounts is about 2 to 3% is the normal practice, that is so that is the industrial standard for the credit card, and the charge accounts is 2 to 3%. So, the thing is that what we need to understand in this case is that what is important is that you must know that this interest rate as well as the time for which you are keeping that amount, that should be minimum. In that case the interest charge will be lesser and lesser. So, we can just see one example that how these businesses operate, how you pay the charges for that credit. So, what is the cost of credit in those cases? Now, suppose for example, a person has purchased. So, he went to the shopping mall and he had seen one offer on one music system, and the music system was sale for rupees 3000. So, music system was sale for dollar basically 3000. Now, the thing is that this store is offering monthly payment of only $60. So, store is offering monthly payment of $60 only. So, that for those customers who are willing to purchase on credit card, for customers willing to buy on store credit card. So, the store is basically issuing a credit card, and if you are trying to purchase this system of rupees or $3000, then in that case it is offering you that you only pay $60 every month for that. Now, it looks very catchy that you have to only pay $60 every month and you will get a sound system. Now, the store is charging basically store charges. Now, it is charging basically 20% APR, annual percentage. So, that is rate of interest on its charge card. So, now the thing is that how long the person has to pay this purchase. So, how long the person has to pay off for this purchase, how much and what will be the total interest that will be deposited by them. So, that is what you have to see, that how you are going to see that what will be the interest charged and how long it is going to take. Now, the thing is, what you see that your APR, annual percentage rate, which is charged by the credit card, is 20%, and it is charging monthly. So, for the monthly monthly rate of interest will be 0.20 by 12. So, that will be your monthly rate of interest. Now, in that case you know that you have principal amount is $3000. So, in that case your if you look at the now it is giving the $60 as the monthly payment. So, basically monthly term that is coming to be $60. Now, if you look at so this basically involves both the things. One is the interest portion, monthly interest portion, and this is basically monthly interest portion and monthly principal portion. Now, what is the monthly interest portion? Now, monthly interest portion will be basically the 0.20 by 12. So, 20 by 12% of 30,000. So, it will be 0.20 by 12 into 3000. So, it will be 250, and then if you multiply that, it will be rupees $50. So, $50 is the monthly interest portion. It means monthly principal portion is the monthly installment which you are paying minus the interest portion. So, that is $10. It means in every month it is basically only contribute, you are only deducting $10 for its principal amount, and the principal amount is 3000. So, time to pay off. So, it will be 3000 divided by 10. So, it will be 300 months. It means it will be 25 years it will be taking to completely pay off this amount of $3000 by the person. If you calculate the amount of interest charged, so the interest which is charged, interest paid by the person. So, he is for 25 years or 300 months he is charging, he is paying the interest, and every month he is paying the interest of 50. So, basically now in that case he is 15,000 on, roughly if you can say for 15,000 he is paying the interest. So, for an amount of 3,000 worth of product, he is paying $15,000 as interest. So, this is how you see that this is the cost of credit. Now, how how much interest he is paying, what is the schedule of payment. So, all these things are clear by looking at this table. The thing is that if you actually see in that case, if you analyze actually, then since he is paying the 10 every time 10 rupees. So, his principal amount is coming down. So, basically interest will not be the same, in fact interest will be different, and in that case so the principal amount. So, every time he will have the different values in actual calculation, because the interest charge will not be every month, that is 60. So, that way because in the first month it will be charging 60 50 as the interest, and 10 will be subtracted. So, in the next month his principal amount is maybe 2990. So, from there, so that way that will be different on that account. So, basically analysis can be done, and it has been seen that when you have some minimum payment, when you go for some minimum payment in actual terms, it has been seen that if suppose you have 2% of the down payment, minimum payment which you are doing, in that case depending upon the time, your interest earned will be different. So, that way what you see. So, now this is a 2% payment, basically not down payment, basically it is 2% payment. 3000 is there. So, you are paying 2% in that case. Now, in that case, in actual situations, when you calculate the interest, it is seen that if your payment is 2% every month, then for the 20% APR, actually you are taking 43.6 years of time, and the whole interest charge is 12,126 rupees in actual case. Now, in those cases, so you can see that for minimum payment of 2%. Now, if you have the minimum payment of 2%, in that case for 5% APR, if you calculate your in 12 years, your interest which you pay is $685, and in 8.75 years. So, now in that case if you have 3% of payment, now for this is for 2%. Now, if you go for 10% APR, in that case the whole payoff will be in 15.3 years, and your interest charged will be 1831. So, this is how you see that when your APR is increasing, then you are taking more time for the payoff, and since you are taking more time, in that case interest charge will be more 1831. Similarly, if you go to 15% APR, in that case you have you will see that you are going to see that it is completed in 22 years of time, and interest earned is interest charge which is seen is $4185. And if you go to 20% APR, in that case you take 43.6 years in actual case, and interest earned is $12,126. So, this way this minimum payment of 2%, if you go for minimum payment of 3% suppose, or let us say you take 5% of minimum payment, in that case it is seen that for 5% APR what happens that you will take lesser time, you will finish the loan, and it will take only 5.9 years, and interest which will be paid, it will be only $260. So, similarly for 10% APR, if you go for the minimum of 5%, that is you are paying $300 every month, in that case it will take 6.4 years, and interest charge will be $570. So, that way you can see that how this interest rate APR, annual percentage rate of interest, and also the time for which this outstanding balance is maintained, you are paying, that will affect the amount of interest which is charged to you, and you can then judge whether you should go with that offer or not. And certainly it is obvious that if your APR is more, or the time for which you are keeping the balance that will be more, in that case you have to pay large amount of interest. Now based on this, you have another concept of the finance charge and average daily balance. So, what you see is that you are paying some amount for that, and depending upon the average daily balance, basically you are charging you are charged by the financial company. So, what happens that most of these credit card companies, so you have the credit statements, you will have a monthly credit card statement, and basically that will show a finance charge basically which is nothing but the interest cost. So, it will be that will be the cost of the interest. Now, this cost of interest you have to calculate, and this cost of interest basically will be calculated by the monthly rate of APR. So, you have to have the product of the monthly rate of APR so this will be this cost of interest will be calculated by applying this monthly rate of APR, and it will be on the average daily balance. So, basically you will have a statement that how much is the average daily balance in that statement, and based on that you will be calculating this cost of interest, that will be your finance charge. Now, on that you will calculate this average daily balance by a formula, and this formula is nothing but you have I equal to 1 to k, and that will be BITI, and this is divided by CY. So, this I will be from 1 to k, and in this case this BI is the daily balance of the account, and TI is the time, and TI is the time for which this balance B remains. and CY is the billing cycle, and CY is billing cycle. So, which is normally done on the monthly basis. Now, the concept is that if suppose in a month the statement will start, and in between you have purchased something, then you have also paid some amount. So, that way the balances will be average daily the daily balance will be going on changing, and you have to calculate that average daily balance. So, for that what you see is that suppose you start with trade with $100 on the first day you have the credit, and then on the 7th day you have further purchased something like $50 per product. So, for 6th day it was 100, and from 7th day again it will be 150. So, and then suppose on 10th day you have paid some amount. So, for that 7, 8 and 9 you have for 3 days it will be 150. So, that way you will have the calculation of these credit this balance amount and then average daily balance. Now, that can be understood by one of the examples. Suppose that there is a a person whose statement was seen, and a person's example is there that a person's card statement was seen. You must be very much familiar with these things, because everyone nowadays have credit cards, and you must be getting these card statement from the credit card companies. So, a person's card statement reads like this, that you suppose it has $90 which is carried over from September. So, from the next month, earlier month you have got some, so that tells $190. Then you have suppose $50, you have done the payment. So, on October 5, then you have $72.95. This is basically the health club charge on October 5. So, this is October basically 11. Further you have all these details will be there for the whole month, say $210.85. So, that is charge on October 17. So, then further you have $26.90, that is again charge on October 22, and further in the end $18.75, and this is also a charge on October 29. Now, if suppose you are told to find these average daily balances, and in that case you can find the monthly rate and also the monthly finance charge. So, monthly finance charge will be average daily balance into monthly rate. So, in that case what we do is now APR basically is set to be suppose 18% in that case. If the APR that is monthly, annually, so monthly it will be 1.5%. So, once you know the APR and once you find the average daily balance, then this monthly rate will be once you know. So, your monthly rate will be 0.18 by 12. So, it will be 0.015. So, basically monthly finance charge you can find average daily balance into MR. So, this is how you calculate these monthly finance charges, which is charged by the financial companies. So, if you look at these statements of the credit card companies, what you see that you have the balance of 190 which is there on the first day, and 190 is there so on October 5 you are taking that again paying 550. So, till that you had 190 going on. So, 190 is going for 4 days. So, 190 will be multiplied with 4. So, that is what we have seen the formula for how long this 190 is there. This is for 4 days. Now, after 4 days this balance, because he has paid 50. So, now he is having the daily balance of 140. Now, from 5 onwards he has the balance of 140. So, 150 for 140 will be 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. So, this will be 6 days. So, then again he has a charge of 72. So, 140 plus 72.95, which will be 212.95, and this will continue. So, this will continue till 16th. So, there are a further 6 days. So further you will be adding to that 210 plus 85. So, it will be 423.80. So, 423.80 will go for from 17, 18, 19, 20 and 21 5 days. So, that will go, and then you have further 26.90. So, it will be 469.45. So, before that you have 423.80 plus 26.90. So, it will be 450.70, and that will be into 7 plus 469.45 into 3. So, this you can understand. Now, this is altogether October's statements. It will be divided, all this summed up divided by 31. So, that will give you $308.39. So, this way you get, this is your average daily balance. This is how the average daily balance is calculated. Once you know average daily balance, you know that MR is 0.015. So, your monthly finance charges will be average daily balance is 308.39 multiplied by 0.015. So, it will be $4.63. So, this will be your monthly finance charges, which will be calculated, and you know that these credit card companies, they are charging monthly finance charges based on all these average daily balances. So, you can calculate the average daily balances from those card statements. Now, we must know something also extra things, like we must be knowing the credit limit and the debt limit. Now, the credit limit is the maximum level of credit that would be offered by a lender to borrowers on an open ended credit account based on the lender criteria. So, lender criteria will be there, and based on that he will have a criteria, he will be setting the criteria, and on that the maximum level of credit which can be offered by the lender to the borrower on an open ended credit account. So, that is your credit limit. And similarly, debt limit is also the maximum level of debt that a borrower would allow for himself or herself based on affordability and the person's future capacity to meet the debt repayment obligations. So, these are the two things, and although credit limit on that it has own considerations, but debt limit basically is assessed on 3 indicators. One is the debt payment by disposable income ratio. So, it is said that if you go for these finding these debt limits, in that case your ratio of these debt payment and the disposable income. So, debt payment DP and disposable income, it is said that it should be not more than 20%. So, it will be less than 0.20. So, it should be less than equal to 20%, and if it is more than 20%, 20 to 30%, if it comes, it means the borrower is over debted. So, that is why this is the first condition, that the debt payment what he is doing, and then this is your disposable income what he is having, it should be less than 0.2. Similarly, you have the second point is the debt by equity ratio. So, if you have it will talk about once state of solvency, and here D is measure, and it should be D by E. So, D by E should be less than debt by equity ratio, it must be less than equal to 0.33. So, that is another thing which sets the debt limit of the person, and then also continuous debt measure. it will tell that how he is how he is going to clear his debt, how he has how in the past how if he has not been able to clear a debt in 4 to 5 years, it means that it is he is very much dependent on the debt, and then he may not get out of it completely. So, that is how it also tells that how what should be his debt limit. So, that way the debt limits are calculated. Then another thing which we need to further understand is the concept of amortization. So, basically that is again a debt, and this debt is the mortgage debt, and it is a long term debt which is incurred by obtaining a loan granted specifically to purchase real estate property. So, nowadays this is very common, and what we see that when we have to purchase these large properties, in those cases you have to have the loan, and with that debt collateralized by the property itself. So, that this type of debt is known as mortgage debt, and since it is very large, normally about 30 years. So, paying off such a loan is made gradual and extended over a long period of time, around 30 years. Now, in these cases you have the structuring of the payments, what we have understood, we have studied also earlier, that we pay these loans in a structured manner by graduated payments, and you have the breaking down of the principal and the interest portions. So, this process is known as amortization, and that is also the one thing which we must know, and in the coming lectures we will also discuss that what are the amortization schedules possible, and how we are going to pay off these loans or debts, especially for the real estate properties or so, which we take for larger time period. So, how you are going to pay these amounts. So, that we will study in our coming lectures. Thank you very much.